Hello. So today I'm going to be talking about Vita Nostra by Marina and Sergey Dychenko. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, dyslexic brain, awful at pronouncing names. I picked this book up because if you have watched any of my previous videos, I'm a big fan of whenever someone on BookTube or a friend or an acquaintance or anyone I bump into at all says this book is my favourite book, I automatically go, I must read it. I don't know why, it's just a thing I have. I love reading people's favourite books. Sometimes I agree with them, sometimes I don't, but I don't really mind. I think if anything has stirred someone up enough to be like, this is my favourite book, or at least, one of my favourite books, then I'm definitely going to try and check it out. So I picked this book up because of Matthew. He's a booktuber. Matthew, kind of dyslexic brain, ski rapper. I not mispronounced it. I'm so sorry. I'm butchering your name. But he mentioned in one of his videos that his books he was looking forward to upcoming. Doesn't really make much sense, does it? Basically, I watched one of his videos in which he was talking about books he was looking forward to that were coming up in the new year. That's kind of what I was trying to say. What a nightmare. Next year, and one of them was the sequel to this book. So then I went back, watched his video on this book, and went, wow, he loves this book. I've got to give it a go. The problem with this book is it is incredibly hard to review it without spoiling it. Now, I'm going to do my version of what I would consider to be light spoilers, what I would consider to be something, if I heard it, wouldn't be ruining the book. But I'm going to tell you right now that this is the kind of book where it's all about the journey. It's all about discovering these things as you go along. It's all kind of about not really knowing much and just letting it take you away. If you're intrigued or you've seen a couple of people talking about this book, you thought you would check out a few more reviews first before you pick it up, stop now. You're already intrigued. Go buy it and give it a go, because I really enjoyed it. The best way to describe this book would be dark academia. It's kind of hard to sort of pin down exactly what it is because it sort of changes and shifts as the novel builds, but I would say dark academia is the best way to go, with some kind of horror elements, or at least for me. The best way that I can try and sum it up, although I don't think this would do it any justice either, is to say imagine the Canadian filmmaker David Cronenberg decided to rewrite Harry Potter set in Russia. And that's kind of what you're getting with this book. And if you don't know who David Cronenberg is, Canadian director, very interested in body horror, and sort of transformation and metamorphosis and those kind of things. This book follows a character called Sasha. At the start of the book, she is 16 years old and she is on holiday with her mum, her single mum. They have gone to the seaside just to get away for the summer. All of a sudden, Sasha starts to notice a very strange man following her. She'll be at the shops, she'll look over the aisle, there he is. She'll be walking back home from the beach and she'll see him across the road. He's wearing these dark sunglasses and he just seems to be everywhere that she goes. He eventually approaches her and tries to talk to her, and she says, this must be a dream, or something like that, and then she wakes up. However, when she wakes up, it's the exact same day played over, and she finds herself stuck in a time loop. Eventually, the stranger comes up to her and says to her, the only way you can break the loop is by, 4 a.m. in the morning, getting completely naked on the beach, swimming out to a buoy, touching it, coming back, and putting your clothes back on. And he says, do that for 5 nights, I believe it's 5 nights, in a row, and the spell, the time loop will be broken. It's very intriguing. You're very sort of invested in this moment. It's all very odd. And every time she wakes up at 4 a.m, she takes off her clothes, she swims out to the buoy, she touches it, she comes back. On her journey home, or when she gets home, she vomits these gold coins. And she later finds out that she will need to use these coins in order to gain entrance to a college, a university that will teach her how to, I don't know. She doesn't know. She doesn't know why she's going to this school. All she knows is that this sort of spell has been put over her and that she needs to go. And that's kind of it. That's the hook. That's what gets you in. I don't think I'm doing that justice at all, but that is the kind of the hook of the story. What the rest of the book does is it follows her journeys at this school. It's all very frustrating because none of the students know exactly why they're doing what they're doing, what exactly they're studying for, All they know is that what they do study causes them discomfort. It's not easy, it's mentally taxing, it's hard. There is a sort of spell over this school, and nothing is ever really explained. You spend a lot of this novel, and that's the kind of the joy of this novel, trying to figure out, like, what the hell is this? Why does it exist? Do they have a purpose? What is going on? And it gets more creepy and more kind of sinister as it progresses. Now, I loved going on this journey. I really enjoyed doing the whole thing from Sasha's perspective. Now, there are many other characters in this book, but this book solely focuses on Sasha's experiences, her mindset, and how she is dealing and coping with being at this university. It follows her throughout her first year, second year, third, all the way through to her third year at the university. And it's got this atmosphere. The way it's written, it's quite simple in its prose, but it's flowery where it needs to be. But you really go on this journey, and I just found myself, I loved it. I thought, for a piece of dark academia, this is the kind of thing I want to read. A kind of novel that sort of slowly morphs itself into the horror aspects as well as looking at the psychological, and also just being really intrigued by the world building that's taking place of this college. I don't think this book is for everyone. I mean, it was originally written in 2013. I believe it was released and translated in 2017. But I think if you're a fan of dark academia, if you're a fan of fantasy, or even if you're a fan of horror, you're going to enjoy this. I think if you are someone who grew up loving Harry Potter, I'm a bit past the Harry Potter. I was probably about 15 when Harry Potter was sort of in its hype. So I don't have any nostalgia for Harry Potter. But if you maybe grew up loving Harry Potter, but you're an adult now and you want an adult story, then this is probably one to check out. One that just pushes things a little bit further. One that looks at the idea of when you're dealing with magic and science and mathematics and how that applies in a kind of magical way and what that can do to a student's psyche. I think this taps into that extremely well. I was rooting for Sasha throughout the whole thing, even though some of the decisions and choices she might have been making I wasn't agreeing with. Yeah, I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, if you are a fan of dark academia, then this is definitely one to pick up. However, this book does one thing that I absolutely hate. I hate it. So I was umming and ahhing about what am I going to give this book. How do I explain it? Well, it's really hard to explain without spoiling. How do I talk about it? I can't. It's just a tricky book to talk about in general. But it does one thing I absolutely hate, and I think it's my dyslexia that does it. It's got, I don't know if you can see, it's just pure dense text. There are no chapter breaks. It breaks into like 3 parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, but it's just pure dense text with no chapter breaks, and I hate that. I hate it. Now, it might be because I also listen to everything on audiobook as well as reading, and it's not conducive to that reading process. So I'll pop into my car, I'll drive to work, and then I might have a break at work, and it will take me 15 minutes to figure out where I am in the audio and where I am in the book so I can pick up back reading it. Obviously, when you've got chapters, that makes life so much easier, and I really do hate it so much. And that's the only reason that this book isn't placing any higher for me, because as far as the reading experience is concerned, it really damaged it in that way. I think there's a lot of people out there who that won't matter for at all. But be warned, if you enjoy being able to use a chapter to take a break and just think about things, it doesn't really give you the ability to do that. But there's a part of me that understands why. Because we are, as a reader, going on this intense experience with Sasha, and it is building and building, and it is claustrophobic, and it is getting inside our heads just as much as it's getting inside her head. I think if you did have chapter breaks, it almost allows a little bit of a release from that. So I understand the reasoning behind it, but I didn't like it. I give this book 4 stars. I thought it was excellent. However, I very much enjoy dark academia and horror. And I think if you are not a fan of even sort of fantasy as well, if you're not a fan of those things, then it's probably going to sit somewhere around a 3-star read. But it is still something that I think if you pick up, you will engage with it. You will slowly get sucked into it. And at the end of it, yeah, you would have had, I don't know, good times, not maybe the right word, but you would be glad that you read it. You wouldn't want to throw it across the room, I don't think. And there you go, that's Vita Nostra. Very much enjoyed, I'm really glad, and I'm very excited for the sequel that's coming out. I haven't done my research, I can't remember what the sequel's called, but it's coming out in March. Very excited for that. And there are some other novels based within the world that this novel is within, and I don't know the names of those either because I also haven't done the research, but I do know they exist, and I might dip into those at some point too. I feel like I'm gonna probably not touch anything in this world until the sequel comes out because I am so intrigued to pick that up and see what happens next. But yeah, have you read this book? Have you given it a go? And if you did, it seems to be people either really love it and it makes this is one of my favourite reads ever, or people are a bit like, no, it just didn't gel with me, which is odd because I'm sort of in the middle, 4 stars. I thought it was excellent, but I'm definitely not saying this is the best book I've ever read. Far from it, but. Yeah, my God, will I ever stop rambling? Right, I'm going to shut this one down now. Yeah, comments below if you've read it and you enjoyed it or what you thought about it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all on the next one.